Hey, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Some more information on our plan to have a child. And to give a very quick update for those who haven't known anything about what we've been doing. When Beth and I met, I had a long time ago, many years ago, I'd had a vasectomy, and so we talked about our desire, our plan to have a child, and there's lots of different options that you can do. If you've had a vasectomy, you can actually go in and without reversing anything, you can have a sample of sperm taken from you. For the man, you can have a sample of sperm taken, and they can find the live sperm, and as long as they can find live sperm in good shape, then they can use that to give you a child using the in vitro method in which they fertilize eggs. The upside is that they can do this, and what some people might think is a risk is that there's a risk of multiple births. So you could end up, depending how adventurous the surgeon is when he fertilizes eggs, who knows, you could be one of those that every fertilized egg goes ahead and does the job, and so you might end up with triplets, which is something of a thought for me because I have triplets in my family. My sister had triplets, very unexpected. She had 2 children, which she was very happy with as a family, husband, wife, and 2 children, and that was just fine for her. And then suddenly finds out that she's pregnant, goes in to the doctor, and it turns out that there are triplets. Okay, which was a shock to the system. So anyway, that can happen when you do the in vitro, and also you can do the in vitro and nothing happens. Some friends of mine had the whole process and did it 3 times in the UK before giving up. So we decided that we would do the reversal. I still thought that, with the reversal it would succeed. It did succeed, but there were things wrong with the sperm which they needed to correct. So we were kind of sent back and told we had to take certain vitamins and supplements, which we did for I think about a month or 6 weeks, and then we went back and we did some more tests, and they told us then that there was still room for improvement, still the need for improvement for me. Of course, Beth is a young woman in her prime as far as having a child goes. She's coming up to 30 years old, so there's every right for her to expect that she would be able to conceive easily. For me, not quite so much. I'm more than 30 years old, as you may have noticed, so there was some work to be done. So we were told a 3-month program we would have to go, and it would take about 3 months. They gave us a whole list of stuff that I needed to take, and I've been taking them faithfully. And I've also, lately, I've changed, well, let me get it right. I went back, and when I went back that time, they said, really, you need a change of lifestyle. I was still drinking coffee, I was still drinking Coca-Cola, I was still eating meat, I was eating pork, and stuff, just ordinary diet, that I needed to drop some of the stuff. I needed to cut the coffee, I needed to certainly cut the Coke because it's massive doses of sugar, though we all love to have a Coke, let's face it, well I do anyway. So we also had to give up one of my great loves, one of my great addictions, and that was chocolate. So they also, on that same meeting, that same consultation, they suggested that I should take an ultrasound for my prostate, which I did, And for those of you men who have not taken the prostate exam, you might actually be very relieved to know that if you go for the ultrasound for the prostate, it's very non-invasive, and actually it's not embarrassing either. You just need to you step up onto the couch, and you don't even get undressed. You know, it's just a matter of pulling your shorts down a little, and you're not showing whether size matters or any other reason. Barely showing your pubic hairs, and they can do the exam, the ultrasound there. Well, it turns out that yes, for my age, a fairly normal thing is enlargement of the prostate. So I think in my darker humor moments that my prostate is prostrate. Yeah, I actually hear a lot of people calling it the prostrate. It's not prostrate, it's prostate, I believe. And yes, your prostate could be prostrate. So that's how it looks. So we're now looking at all of the natural remedies, which is what I prefer to do, for trying to correct that, because it may well be causing us to not conceive, and it may, for all I know, it may be leading to a less than optimum condition for the sperm as well. And so I'm just being quite frank here, and open, and trying to tell you it as it is. Okay, so no one wants to go through this. No one wants to go through the embarrassment of finding out that things ain't what they used to be, as the old musical used to say. So we'll go. And right now, what has this meant in terms of a lifestyle? Well, I am not rigidly, not religiously a vegetarian, but pretty well 80% I am. I just have a crumble now and then, and I might eat a little meat. Being vegetarian is extremely inconvenient. It's one of those things that you want to eat a normal diet, and you watch other people around you eating it, and if it's one of those things that necessity has forced you to become vegetarian, then it's even harder. When people suddenly, if they visit a slaughterhouse and look at the horrendous picture there, that's enough to say, I'm not doing this anymore. And so they hardly regret doing the vegetarian route. I hadn't been to a slaughterhouse lately, so I'm lacking in a little motivation on that, okay? So well, please don't send me any links for slaughterhouses, okay? I've dealt with the IRS in America. That's enough slaughterhouse for me. So anyway, I'm pretty well eating just vegetarian. Tonight for dinner I had a little rice, not too much. I cut right back on the rice, much to Nanai's disgust, because she said, "Terence, eat rice." And I say, "Nanai, just a little." And so I eat a little. And I've been eating bucket loads of vegetables, which we can buy at the local store at Alturas. We can go around there, and they've got a wonderful section there, which is huge bins full of fresh veg that's all chopped rice, that's washed and chopped, and is prepared straight to go to dinner. And we've been buying that by the kilo and eating it by the kilo. And coming back from dinner tonight, even Beth, who it was almost impossible to get her to eat any veggies when I first met her, and coming back, she's actually said, "You know, I actually like vegetables now." So that was a huge win, huge conversion. So I just had a huge bowl of vegetables, and felt great on that. You know, a little rice and a lot of vegetables. So that I crumble from time to time on the coffee, but I only drink very, very weak coffee anyway. So that was hardly a huge thing. So if I was having, for those of you who live in the Philippines, you'll recognize the term 3-in-1. Well, 3-in-1 for those who don't live in the Philippines and haven't been here. That's a packet of coffee that contains everything. It contains the coffee, the milk, and the sugar, and you get used to it. It's very good. But I only ever had half a pack for 1 cup of coffee, or one mug like this of coffee. So I've given that up. But since our visitor has been here and drinks coffee by the gallon, I've crumbled a few times on that. I even crumbled and had a little chocolate the other night. But I think that you should allow yourself a crumble, allow yourself a weakness, and then just get back onto the diet. So that's what's been happening. That's what it's meant to me personally to actually toe the line on what the clinic have been telling us. The next thing that I should do would be to take my ultrasound to my ultrasound results. We have the results. We were given that within half an hour, and take them to a urologist and see what he has to say. Now, there is apparently a non-invasive laser treatment that can, if you can imagine, let me see, what can we show you? That if you can imagine that this is the little tube, not the USB port, okay, you don't have a USB port up your bum, but you do have a tube that might even be about this thickness, and around it you have the prostate gland. And this is what happens, is that that little tube, which is what feeds the sperm and your urine out, allows you to evacuate from the bladder, which is over here, and this is the exit, okay, minus the USB tube. That might make things a lot easier actually if we had a USB. But what happens is that as it should start off nice and loose, but as you age and get past, I think it's as early as the age of 50, it can start to enlarge. Don't know why, but it can start to enlarge. That's why you end up, without thinking about it, going to the toilet once a night maybe. Now, if it gets too big, you might be going several times a night, which means that you should go and have an ultrasound or whatever test is available in your neck of the woods. So mine is squeezed a little, and so I need to have something done. Well, what they can do is they can go in with the laser, which is very tiny, and I'm thinking maybe we can say that this is the laser, and it's so tiny, and it can very carefully, we hope, very carefully remove enough of the prostate gland to relieve the pressure on this. And that's what you're looking at doing. And that's what we're going to look at doing. It's so non-invasive that it's even I think it's an outpatients thing. You go in the morning and you're out later that day. Although you might be walking with a limp, I've got a feeling. So anyway, avoid bumpy rides like we have from our house down to the road and back again. So that will be our next challenge, to go and find out from the urologist what the news is on that. When I spoke to the doctor that did the ultrasound and we talked about the results then, coincidentally he was about to go to my home country and work there in London town. the City of London, which I spent most of my adult life working in, and so we had a good chat about that. And he was very informal about telling me what the results were, but he said, well, a urologist will know more. And so apparently what the enlargement that I have is benign, and so I'm not terribly worried about that. But since I learned that, I've looked it up on the internet, done my own research, and I found that there are many things that you can do to relieve and reduce the enlargement of the prostate. And the one that I chose, and I chose this on the very scientific method of, I had the ingredients, so I said, this is the way that I'll go. And morning and evening I take a pretty generous 2 spoonfuls, I think, 2 large spoonfuls of apple cider vinegar. Put that in a mug, and then I put a spoonful of honey, and a large spoonful of honey, and then I put in hot water. And for this mug like this, I fill it up to about here with water, a little bit under half, and I do that, and the hot water dissolves the honey and makes it into a very pleasant drink. Now, I used to drink for pleasure. I would drink honey and lemon, and surprisingly the apple cider vinegar has proved to make quite a pleasant drink. So I don't dread taking that in. Before I had an abscessed tooth up in the top here, and one of the treatments that was suggested was that I have apple cider vinegar, and take a mouthful of apple cider vinegar and do this and gargle it and hold it in the mouth for as long as you can, which for me was not very long, but that got rid of the abscessed tooth, and everything's fine on that now. So I'd already been doing that with the apple cider, but when it came to drinking it in a measure of hot water and honey, boy, that was actually quite pleasant. So I've done that, done it already twice today, and I think that there is a slight improvement, and so I'll be telling you about that and whether that has helped. Now, I did have a comment from a subscriber who said, when I mentioned about the apple cider vinegar helping with the tooth, he said, some time ago I started to take a spoonful of apple cider vinegar in the morning and a spoonful at night. He said, and I've never been so happy, never been so healthy. Okay. Happiness is another thing, and that might not be attainable with apple cider vinegar. So that's what I've been doing. Other people have said apple cider vinegar is a natural antibiotic. Well, don't talk about antibiotics to me. I had to take antibiotics when I was bitten by a dog in Cebu, and that was part of the after treatment. The follow-up was to take antibiotics for a few days. Oh boy, it made me dizzy, and I didn't like it at all. So the idea that apple cider vinegar is a natural antibiotic pleased me greatly. So that's the update now for those of you who are interested, and for those of you who communicated to me on this subject of having a child and age gap and the age difference, and how you've had in vitro and succeeded and failed. I love getting all of those letters. Please don't stop, and I hope that you'll accept this update as your answer for some of them. So thanks for looking in, and bye for now. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and to share this, particularly this kind of video that we do about this kind of problem. So many people out there would love to have a child, and for one reason and another it seems that they can't. But maybe that can't is not as end of the story as they think. Bye for now.